Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more Billionaire Stories 101. David Sterling's eyes burned with the effort of staying conscious. The ropes bit into his wrists, coarse and unforgiving, and the blindfold had been ripped away so roughly that it felt like his skin had gone with it. The warehouse around him swam into focus, corrugated metal walls streaked with rust, a single bare bulb swinging overhead casting sickly yellow light, the thick oppressive humidity of the Belizean jungle pressing in from everywhere at once. And there, in 3 other chairs arranged in a cruel semicircle facing him, were the people who had brought him here. Marcus, his right-hand man for 15 years. The only person in the world David trusted completely. Blood trickled from a gash above his eyebrow, but his eyes were alert, already scanning the room for exits, for advantages, for anything that might help them survive. Ian, his younger brother. 3 years apart in age, a lifetime apart in everything that mattered. Pale beneath his tan, trembling visibly, a purple bruise blooming across his cheekbone. He looked terrified. He looked guilty. He looked everywhere, except directly at David and Sophia. David's breath caught in his throat despite everything. Even tied to a chair, her white linen blouse torn at the shoulder, her perfect blonde hair tangled and dirty, she was beautiful. Sophia Winthrop, heir to the Winthrop Hotel empire. The woman whose family had been hosting presidents and royalty since the 1880s. The woman who had been his girlfriend for 2 years. 2 years of gallery openings and charity galas and carefully orchestrated public appearances. 2 years of everyone telling them what a perfect couple they made, how their marriage would unite 2 dynasties, how their children would be American royalty. 2 years of lies. The silence stretched between them like a physical thing, thick and suffocating. David could hear his own heartbeat, could hear the distant call of some jungle bird, could hear the ragged breathing of the 3 people who shared his captivity. He stared at them, Ian and Sophia, together, in the same place, on the same plane, flying to the same destination. The pieces that hadn't fit before suddenly clicked into place with a sickening finality. How long? His voice was quiet, calmer than he had any right to be. The voice he used in boardrooms when a deal was falling apart, and everyone was waiting to see if he would crack. Ian's jaw worked silently. Sophia's eyes filled with tears, real or manufactured. David couldn't tell anymore. How long? David, please. Sophia started. I'm not talking to you. The words were ice. He didn't look at her. His eyes remained fixed on his brother. You. Answer me. How long have you been sleeping with her? Ian's face crumpled. For a moment, he looked like the little brother David remembered from childhood, the one who used to follow him everywhere, who wanted to be just like him. Then his expression hardened into something defensive, almost defiant. 6 months. Maybe 7. 6 months. David did the math in his head. The gala at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The weekend Ian had supposedly gone to Aspen. The business trip to London that Sophia had claimed was too boring for him to join. All of it rearranging itself in his memory. Every moment retroactively poisoned. The Maldives? David's voice was still quiet. 3 months ago. You said you were scouting locations for a new Winthrop resort. Sophia's tears spilled over. We were going to tell you. We just didn't know how. It just happened. And it just happened. David finally turned to look at her, and something in his expression made her flinch back against her chair. People don't just accidentally fall into bed with their boyfriend's brother for 6 months, Sophia. That takes planning. That takes lying to my face every single day. That takes looking me in the eyes while I told you I loved you and pretending you felt the same way. I do care about you. Stop. The word cracked like a whip. Just stop. I don't want to hear another lie come out of your mouth. Not one more. Ian straightened in his chair, a flash of anger cutting through his fear. You don't get to talk to her like that. You don't get to judge us. You have no idea what it's like, David. Always being second. Always being the one who wasn't good enough for father. Who wasn't serious enough for the company. Who wasn't worthy of the sterling name. Sophia actually sees me. She actually loves me. Not the company, not the money, not the status. Me. David stared at his brother for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft and dangerous. You think this is about father? You think I wanted any of this? I worked 18 hours a day for 15 years to earn that position, Ian. I was there when you were in Monaco. I was there when you were in St. Bart's. I was there when you were spending your trust fund on women who didn't know your last name. Father didn't choose me because he loved me more. He chose me because I was the only one who showed up. That's not true. It is true. David's voice rose for the first time. And you know it. So instead of doing the work, instead of proving yourself, you decided to take something that belonged to me. Again. Just like when we were kids, and you couldn't stand that I had something you didn't. I'm not a child anymore. Then stop acting like one. David strained against his ropes, his composure finally cracking. You slept with my girlfriend for 6 months, and now we're tied up in some jungle warehouse because of whatever mess you've gotten yourself into, and I'm supposed to feel sorry for you? Sophia was sobbing now, ugly, honest tears that streaked mascara down her cheeks. David, please, I know you're angry. You have every right to be angry, but we're going to die here. We need to work together. Work together? David laughed, a hollow sound with no humor in it. You want to work together? You and me? After you've been spreading your legs for my brother behind my back? After you smiled at me over dinner last week and told me you were looking forward to the Hamptons this summer? After you let me make love to you while you were thinking about him? David, don't. He turned away from her, the disgust on his face more painful than any words. Just don't. Ah, ah. Before anyone could speak again, the door at the far end of the warehouse crashed open. 3 men entered. They moved with the practiced efficiency of people who had done this before, hard faces, cold eyes, weapons held loosely but ready. The leader was a thick-necked man with a scar running from his eyebrow to his jaw, and he smiled when he saw that his prisoners were awake. Ah, excellent. The guest of honor is conscious. He walked slowly around the chairs, his boots echoing on the concrete floor. He stopped in front of David, studying him like a specimen. Mr. Sterling, I apologize for the accommodations. We don't usually get such distinguished visitors in our little corner of the world. David said nothing. He just watched the man with empty eyes. The situation is simple. The man crouched down to David's level. You are worth approximately $4.7 billion. We are asking for a relatively modest sum in comparison. $100 million wired to an account we will provide. In exchange, you and your friends go free. And if I refuse? The man's smile widened. Then we begin removing body parts, starting with the pretty one. He gestured casually, and one of his men grabbed Sophia's chair, yanking it backward. She screamed a high, terrified sound that cut through the warehouse like glass. The man dragged her toward a door at the back, her cries growing more desperate with every foot of distance. No! Ian thrashed against his ropes, his face contorted with panic. Don't hurt her, please. I'm begging you. The door slammed shut behind them. For a moment, there was silence. Then Sophia's screams began. They were horrible, high and raw, and full of genuine terror, echoing through the thin metal walls. Each one was a knife twisting in David's gut, despite everything. He had loved this woman once. Maybe he still did, in some broken part of himself that hadn't caught up with reality yet. Ian was sobbing now, calling her name over and over. Marcus sat rigid, his jaw clenched so tight David could see the muscles jumping in his neck. David just watched the door. The leader returned alone after what felt like an eternity. Through the walls, Sophia's screams had faded to muffled sobs, but they could still hear her crying. 100 million, the man said calmly. Wire it now, and the pain stops. For all of you. Ian turned to David, his face streaked with tears and dirt. David, please, I'm begging you. Whatever you think of me, Whatever you think of us, please, don't let them hurt her. Please. I love her. I really love her. David looked at his brother. Really looked at him. Saw the desperation, the fear, the genuine anguish in his eyes. Saw the love there, raw and unguarded in a way Ian had never been with anything else in his entire life. He turned back to the kidnapper. I need a secure laptop. And time. I have to move funds around, make it look legitimate so my people don't get suspicious and call the authorities. The leader studied him for a long moment, then nodded. You have 1 hour. They brought him a laptop. David's fingers moved across the keyboard with practiced efficiency, accessing encrypted connections, pulling up systems that didn't officially exist. On the surface, it looked like he was moving money, preparing transfers, doing exactly what they'd asked. Beneath the surface, he was doing something else entirely. David Sterling hadn't built his fortune by playing by the rules. He had backdoors into systems that would make the NSA jealous, fail-safes and hidden protocols designed for situations exactly like this one. Within minutes, he had not only located their exact coordinates, an abandoned warehouse outside a village called Roaring Creek, but had quietly alerted the FBI task force still stationed in Belize City. Then he kept digging. Thanks for watching. Comment below what you think David will find out next. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more billionaire stories like this one. The building's ownership led to a shell company, which led to another shell company, which led to an email address. The emails were a treasure trove. Negotiations, planning, discussions of how to lure David to Belize, how to make the plane crash convincing enough to bring him running. And at the center of it all, one name kept appearing. Ian. David's fingers slowed on the keyboard. He read the emails again, then a third time, letting the words sink in. His brother hadn't just been sleeping with Sophia. He'd been planning this for months. The plane crash was staged. The pilots were in on it. The wreckage planted. The whole thing an elaborate performance designed to get David to fly to Belize where he could be grabbed and held for ransom. Ian was angry, bitter, convinced he deserved the company their father had given to David. This was his revenge. David sat back in his chair, the laptop screen glowing in the dim light. Through the walls, he could still hear Sophia crying. Through the ropes, he could feel his brother's desperate gaze boring into him. He looked at Ian, really looked at him, saw the fear, the tension, the way he couldn't quite meet David's eyes. You set this up. The words hung in the air. Ian's face went white. What? No, David. That's insane. Why would I? The emails, Ian. I'm reading them right now. Your planning. Your negotiations. Your brilliant scheme to extort money from me because you couldn't stand that father gave me the company instead of you. Ian's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. For a moment, he looked like a fish gasping for air. Then something shifted in his expression, the fear fading, replaced by something harder, more calculating. You were never supposed to find out. David laughed, a bitter sound with no warmth. Find out? You had me kidnapped. You had Sophia tortured. You were going to take $100 million from me and leave me here to rot or worse, and you thought I wouldn't find out? Sophia wasn't supposed to get hurt. Ian's voice was defensive now, almost petulant. That wasn't part of the plan. They were just supposed to scare her, make it look real. They weren't supposed to actually torture her? That's your defense? That you only sort of wanted me to suffer? Marcus was staring at Ian with an expression of pure disgust. You're pathetic. You know that? Your brother built something real. He worked for it. And instead of doing the same, you decided to steal from him. Shut up. Ian's face flushed with anger. You don't know anything. You're just his loyal little puppy, following him around, licking his boots. Ian. David's voice cut through the argument like a blade. Where is Sophia in all of this? Does she know? For the first time, Ian's confidence wavered. She doesn't know about the kidnapping. She thought we were just going away together. The plane crash was supposed to be a fake. She didn't know they'd actually... But she knew about the affair. David's voice was flat. She knew she was cheating on me with you. She knew she was lying to me every single day. That part she chose. Ian said nothing. His silence was all the confirmation David needed. David turned back to the laptop. His fingers moved again. Faster this time. Accessing accounts with ruthless efficiency. Ian's personal accounts. Sophia's trust funds. The hidden accounts they thought no one knew about, the offshore holdings. The investment portfolios. The emergency cash. One by one, he emptied them. Millions of dollars vanished into the digital ether, transferred to accounts that didn't officially exist, routed through so many layers of encryption that no forensic accountant on Earth would ever untangle them. By the time he was done, Ian Sterling and Sophia Winthrop were penniless. Every asset they owned, every dollar they'd hidden, every safety net they'd built, gone. He didn't stop there. While he was in their financial records, he made a few other adjustments. Property liens filed with local governments, HOA fines for their luxury condos, backdated and accruing interest, court dates scheduled for next month for violations they'd never heard of, bank notifications about repossession proceedings for their cars, their boats, their vacation homes. Then he accessed the extortion emails between Ian and the kidnappers and forwarded the entire file to the FBI, along with evidence of a massive jewel heist the kidnappers had pulled off 6 months ago, a $10 million diamond that had never been recovered. He gave them the money trail, the locations, the names, everything. Finally, he pulled up Sophia's text messages, the ones to her best friend, the ones where she bragged about switching up brothers because Ian was about to be rich and powerful, the ones where she laughed about David's devotion to her, about how he had no idea she was playing him. He read each one carefully, memorizing the words, letting them sear themselves into his memory. Then he accessed the photo files on both their phones and sent the most incriminating images to every major gossip outlet in New York. The affair would be public within hours. He set up a fake bank notification, making it appear that the transfer was complete. Then, he closed the laptop and waited. The door opened. The kidnappers filed back in, dragging Sophia with them. She was pale and shaking, her clothes more torn than before, but she was alive. They threw her back into her chair. The leader approached David. "The money?" David nodded toward the laptop. "It's done. Check your notifications." The man pulled out a phone, tapped at the screen, and smiled. A moment later, Ian's worried expression shifted. His eyes darted to David, then to the phone, then back to David. A slow grin spread across his face. "Well done, little brother." The voice was different, confident, smug. Ian straightened in his chair, the fear evaporating like morning mist. David watched him, said nothing. Ian's grin widened. "You have no idea how long I've waited for this, watching you play the perfect son, the golden boy, running Dad's company like his little puppet." He laughed, an ugly sound. "But who's the puppet now? You just handed me $100 million. My buyout. My escape from your shadow." Still, David said nothing. Ian leaned forward as far as his ropes would allow. "Thank you, little brother. Now you can go back to running the business like Dad's good little boy. Thanks for my buyout. I deserved it. I've always deserved it. I'm the oldest. The company should have been mine from the beginning." David met his brother's eyes. Slowly, deliberately, he smiled. It was not a nice smile. "You're welcome, big brother. But you forgot one thing." Ian's grin faltered. "What's that?" "What's that?" I, calm. I, grin. "What's that?" "You forgot who you're dealing with." The warehouse doors exploded inward. FBI agents poured through the opening, weapons drawn, shouting commands. The kidnappers reacted instantly. 2 went for their guns and were cut down in a hail of bullets. The leader grabbed Sophia, using her as a shield, but a sharp-eyed agent put a round through his shoulder and he went down screaming. The remaining 2 threw down their weapons and surrendered. In the chaos, Ian sat frozen, his face cycling through confusion, disbelief, and dawning horror. He looked at David, who was watching the scene with calm satisfaction. He looked at the FBI agents swarming the room. He looked at Sophia, sobbing in her chair. What? What did you do? David's smile didn't waver. I told you. You forgot who you're dealing with. An agent reached David first, cutting through his ropes. David rubbed his wrists, stood up slowly, and walked over to where Ian still sat bound to his chair. He crouched down in front of his brother, the same way the kidnapper had crouched in front of him earlier. The money you think you just got? Fake. The accounts you've been hiding for years? Empty. All of them. Every dollar you had, every dollar Sophia had, every dollar you thought was safe, gone. I wiped you clean. He paused, letting that sink in. The HOA at your penthouse is about to file a lien. Your cars are being repossessed as we speak. And those photos you and Sophia have been sending each other? They're currently being uploaded to every gossip site in America. By tomorrow morning, the entire world will know exactly what you did. Ian's face had gone white. You can't. I can. I did. David stood up, looking down at his brother with something that might have been pity if there was any warmth left in him. Oh, and Dad? I sent him the whole file. Every email, every text, every detail of your little scheme. He knows everything, including the part where you tried to extort his company out of $100 million. He's already called his lawyer. You're out of the will, Ian. Completely. No. Ian shook his head frantically. No, he wouldn't. I'm his son. You were his son. Now you're just another criminal facing a rack of charges that add up to about 40 years in federal prison. David turned away. Enjoy your buyout. As agents swarmed around them, cutting ropes and reading rights, Sophia found her voice. David, please. He stopped. Didn't turn around. Please forgive me. I didn't know about the kidnapping. I swear I didn't know. I just wanted to be loved. I wanted someone to see me. Really see me. And Ian made me feel. David turned then. The look on his face stopped her words cold. Forgive you? His voice was quiet, but it carried in the sudden silence of the warehouse. You fell for my brother's lies and antics. You cheated on me for 6 months. You smiled in my face and told me you loved me while you were planning a future with him. And now you want me to forgive you? Sophia's tears flowed freely. I was confused. I made a mistake. A mistake is ordering the wrong wine with dinner. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is not sleeping with your boyfriend's brother for half a year and then flying to Belize with him while pretending to be somewhere else. He stepped closer, close enough to see the fear in her eyes. You said the two of you were deeply in love. You told your best friend I read the texts. Sophia, that you were switching up brothers because Ian was about to be rich and powerful. You used me. Both of you used me. And now you want forgiveness? Go be by his side in his time of need. David's voice was cold, final. That's what love does, right? Stands by each other no matter what? He's facing 40 years in prison. You're facing extortion charges and complete financial ruin. Go be deeply in love together. I don't want to have anything to do with either of you. He walked away. Behind him, he heard Sophia's sobs, Ian's angry shouts, the steady professional voices of the FBI agents processing the scene. He didn't look back. 3 weeks later, New York City. Have you subscribed yet? Well, don't forget to like, share, and comment for more Billionaire Stories 101. The fall air had turned crisp, carrying the smell of roasting chestnuts from a street vendor on the corner. David Sterling walked through the lobby of his condominium building, the familiar marble and brass surroundings feeling almost foreign after everything that had happened. The fallout had been spectacular. Ian was in federal custody, facing charges that included kidnapping, extortion, conspiracy to commit fraud, and a dozen other counts that added up to a potential 45-year sentence. His lawyers were negotiating, but the evidence was overwhelming. Their father had indeed removed him from the will, a decision made with cold finality during a 10-minute phone call that David hadn't been present for. Sophia's family had distanced themselves completely. The Winthrop Hotel empire, built over 5 generations of careful reputation management, couldn't survive a scandal of this magnitude. They issued a terse statement, expressing profound disappointment and full cooperation with authorities. And then went silent. Sophia herself was out on bail, facing charges of her own, not for the kidnapping, thankfully, but for fraud and conspiracy related to the affair and her knowledge of Ian's schemes. Her trust fund was gone. Her reputation was destroyed. Her family wanted nothing to do with her. The kidnappers were all in custody. The FBI had recovered the stolen diamond based on the information David provided, along with evidence of a half-dozen other crimes. The leader was facing life in prison. And David? David was free. Free in a way he hadn't been in years. The relationship with Sophia had been a performance, he realized now, a carefully staged production for the cameras, for the magazines, for the expectations of 2 powerful families. He hadn't loved her. He had loved the idea of her, the idea of them, the idea of a life that looked perfect from the outside. He wanted something real now. Something that wasn't about money or status or what anyone else thought. He crossed the lobby, nodding to the doorman, his mind already on the pile of work waiting for him upstairs. The company needed him. There were deals to review, meetings to attend, a reputation to rebuild after the scandal. Life went on. And then he saw her. She was standing near the concierge desk, a clipboard in her hand, talking animatedly with the building manager about something. She was tall, with dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail and warm brown eyes that crinkled at the corners when she smiled. She wore jeans and a soft sweater. No designer labels, no obvious wealth, just simple elegance. She was holding a bouquet of flowers, not the hothouse orchids that Sophia had favored, but wildflowers, bright and untamed and beautiful in their imperfection. David stopped walking. The building manager noticed him first. "Mr. Sterling, good evening. This is Miss Elena Vasquez. She's our new events coordinator for the building. She's planning the autumn charity gala next month." Elena turned toward him, and their eyes met. For a moment, the lobby faded away. The marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, the doorman in his crisp uniform, all of it dissolved into background noise. There was only her smile, warm and genuine, and the way it made something shift in David's chest that he'd thought was dead. "Mr. Sterling." She extended her hand. Her grip was firm, confident. "It's a pleasure to meet you. I've heard wonderful things about your work with the Sterling Foundation. The literacy program in the Bronx? My sister teaches at one of the schools you funded. She says it's made all the difference." David found his voice. "Your sister teaches at PS 107? She does. 3rd grade. She talks about your foundation constantly." Elena's smile widened. "I was going to write you a thank you note, actually. I didn't expect to run into you in person." "I'm glad you did." The words came out before he could stop them. They hung in the air between them, simple and honest in a way he hadn't been with anyone in years. Elena's cheeks flushed slightly, but she didn't look away. "Well, I should let you get upstairs. But if you're free sometime." She stopped, seeming to catch herself. "Never mind. That's probably not appropriate. You're a resident, I'm staff. I shouldn't. Have dinner with me." She blinked. "What?" "Dinner. Tonight. Tomorrow. Whenever you're free." David felt like he was 20 years old again, asking a girl out for the first time, nervous and hopeful and terrified, all at once. "I know it's forward. I know we just met. But there's something about you." He stopped, shook his head. "I'm sorry. I'm not usually like this. I've spent a long time doing what I was supposed to do, being who I was supposed to be, and I'm done with that. I want to be real. I want to meet someone real. And you seem real?" Elena's smile had turned amused but warm. "That's a new one. Usually men in this building just want to know if I'll pose for their Instagram." I don't have Instagram. She laughed a real laugh, not the practiced socialite titter he'd grown accustomed to. Okay, Mr. Sterling. Dinner. Tomorrow night. There's a little place in the village. Nothing fancy, but they have the best pasta in the city. My treat. I couldn't let you. You absolutely can let me. I asked you, remember? She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. 7 o'clock. I'll text the address to the concierge. And Mr. Sterling? David. David. She tested the name, smiled. Wear something comfortable. This isn't a date for the cameras. It's just a date. She turned and walked away, leaving David standing in the middle of the lobby, watching her go. The building manager cleared his throat discreetly. The doorman pretended to be very interested in the street outside. David Sterling, 40 years old, worth nearly $5 billion, survivor of the most spectacular betrayal of his life, stood in his own lobby and smiled. For the first time in years, it reached his eyes. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Billionaire Stories 101.